First grade. Welcome back. Okay, we are moving into, again, my favorite kind of writing, narrative writing. And I remember last time we did these, I think it was before Christmas even, we had some incredible stories. Um, we had stories about trips, we had stories about um, hospital visits. We had stories about pets, lots of stories about pets. So let's talk now that you've gotten your feet wet, you kind of know what it is. Let's talk about what exactly is narrative writing. All right, so I'm going to what is narrative writing? Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about it. Do you know if narrative writing has to be true or made up? Hmm. Guess what? If you're telling a story, oh, storytelling. Let's write that first. Narrative writing, it is storytelling. Storytelling. So, since I said that, you probably know the answer now. Does it have to be real? Does it have to be something that truly happened? Does it have to be nonfiction? No. It can be a made up story. Now, last time we wrote narratives, I wanted you to write about something that you knew about. But guess what? We're moving on. We can write made up narrative stories. So I'm going to write it can be. I could write fiction or nonfiction, but our curriculum wants me to call it real or made up. So I'm going to write that too, but I know you guys know fiction and nonfiction. This is probably, they probably do it in case you're just starting first grade too, and maybe you don't know as much about fiction and nonfiction. So it can be real or made up. Can be real or made up. So if I have a story called My Trip to the Moon, do you think that story would be real or would it be made up? That story would be made up, wouldn't it? How about if I wrote a story called My Trip to the Emergency Room? Yeah, that's a real story. When I broke my arm on rollerblades, I think I told you guys about that. Yeah, that was bad. All right. And of course, I've had my children in the emergency room too, but I was talking about me. All right, let's see. Let's move on. A narrative can be told by different people. We've talked a little bit about first person and third person. It can be told. I'm going to say first person, but then I'm going to make a note that that means somebody in the story, okay? It can be told in first person. Now, grown-ups, sometimes when we're making a note about something and we want to give somebody more information, we might put parentheses. So it can be told in first person, which means by someone in the story. So if you see words like I or we, that means that story is probably told in first person. It could also be told, I'm running out of colors here. It could also be told in third person. And or third, did I say third person? Third, my marker's not working very well. Person, and we'll do our parentheses again. And that is when we have our narrator, right? So the narrator is not in the story. By a narrator. So if you don't see the words I in there, it's probably told by a narrator, like our Olivia books. It says, Olivia went to the museum. Olivia saw her favorite painting. Um, so it's told by somebody that's not really in the story. All right, let's see. I think I've got one more thing in here. I'm using my book. Oh yeah. It needs to, this is extremely important. It needs to have a beginning, a middle, and I hope you said an end. I really hope you did. It has a beginning. That's a long word, isn't it? A middle, comma, and what did I say? An end. So if my story went, once upon a time there was a beautiful princess who lived in a tower. Does that story have a beginning? Well, yes, it does. A beautiful princess in a tower. Does it have a middle? No. Does it have an end? No. What happened to the princess? Nothing? Okay, so let me try again. Let me try my princess story. I know it sounds a little bit like Rapunzel, doesn't it? Once upon a time there was a beautiful princess who lived high up in a tower. The prince saved her, and they lived happily ever after. The end. What do you think? So in the beginning, there's a princess in a tower. In the end, the prince saves her, and they live happily ever after. Wait a minute. There's no middle to that story, is there? Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to have to do some work on this. So today we are just brainstorming, and there's a story in here. I was going to read it to you, but I know I talked a long time about what a narrative is. So if you look at this one, and if you would like to read the story, you sure can. Make sure you notice it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now look, the end is very short, isn't it? And this one is about some lost slippers, I believe. Oh, hopping feet. Yes, bunny slippers that make the feet hop. Yes. Okay. So you might want to read that one. But this is what we're actually doing today. Pre-writing with a story map. It's got a cute little lizard in the top, and we don't have page numbers on here, so you're just going to have to find the one with the puzzle piece. I know this is a lot to come up with today, and I know when I do writing, I like to take a couple days to come up with a title, but they want you to come up with a title today. In fact, sometimes I like to write some of my story and then pick a title, but maybe you already know your title today. They want to know when and where your story takes place. What is that also called? Setting. We've been talking about that. You know about the setting. Does it take place in the forest? Does it take place in your house? Does it take place in outer space? Oh my goodness, we could think of so many places. And when? Did it happen back in the olden days? Did it happen in the time of the dinosaurs? Or maybe it happens in the future and there are flying cars everywhere. I don't know. Was it the middle of winter? I probably wouldn't be writing a story about the middle of winter, would I? Because I like spring the best. So I don't know. You gotta decide when and where. Who are the characters going to be in your story? Now, if you write about something that really did happen to you, if it's real, that might be pretty easy to come up with characters. Maybe it was you and your mom, or your sister and your brother, and a dog. Would a dog be a character? Yeah, a dog can be a character. So that might be easy if you're doing a real story. If you're doing a made up story, maybe you want aliens. I don't know. Maybe you want a real cowboy in your story. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to throw out so many ideas. You don't have to do them all. And then in the bottom one, this big giant piece down here, what happens? And if I were you, for what happens, I might write beginning, middle, and end. And you don't have to write out full complete sentences. Nope. You just need to write one or two words about when and the where. Who, you could just make a list of all your characters that will be in your story. And what happened? Just very quickly, what happened at the beginning? Like if you were talking about, if you were writing about getting a pet, if you wrote about getting a pet last time, pick something else. But if you're writing about getting a pet, maybe you could be like, I begged mom and dad. And in the middle, mom finally said yes. And in the end, we brought my pet home from the pet store. So it doesn't have to be full sentences. We will add those later. Okay. Tomorrow we're talking about character building some more. So see, you don't even have to get all of this exactly like you want it. Good writers constantly edit. I cannot wait to read these stories. I bet you guys are going to be so creative. Okay, I'm out. I know I talked for a long time, but I just love to read your writing. It's fabulous.